All right, what's going on? This is Brandon Williams, aka Fresh, COO of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. I had to slide back in here with another one, guys. I appreciate the love that I received on the last one. If you haven't listened to it yet, you can check out my thoughts on a J.I. Hall's spring situation. There might be some more that we will release as it pertains to his situation. Please stay tuned on that. I think it's going to be a lot of things that might transpire with him particularly. But recently, if those who either you watched it or you probably just saw the replays now, I have to touch on this whole slap heard and seen around the world. And I'm going to tie this into Alabama. Stick around, stay with me on this one. All right. I'm going to give my thoughts on what I saw, and I'm going to say what I feel, how this kind of ties into what you might see from Alabama in the 2022 season here in the fall coming up this year. So let me touch on this whole situation real quick. So if you didn't watch it, or if you just saw the replays of it, we saw a situation where Will Smith, who is up for Best Actor for his performance in King Richard. I have not seen the movie. I've been wanting to see it. I've heard that it was really good. I was always a big fan of Richard Williams, and obviously what he was able to accomplish with his two daughters, one being the best female tennis player that has ever walked this planet, and I don't see there being anyone that's going to replace Serena Williams. But just the perseverance story is a wonderful story, so I definitely plan on seeing it at some point. And I'm definitely would like to see the performance that Will Smith put on. But I got to touch on this thing that happened the other night, man. I was extremely disappointed, and let me unpack this a little bit. So you have a situation where Chris Rock, who has been known to be, if you watch Charlie Murphy in his Dave Chappelle skit about Rick James, an habitual line stepper, if you will, okay? And I won't say that he oversteps a line, but I will say that he flirts with it. And I think what we saw the other night at the Oscars was him flirting with that line. And I'm not so sure that he knew exactly the situation with Jada Pinkett and her hair, because I had absolutely no idea. I just thought that she just decided she just wanted to have a low cut one day, and I don't follow her in her story that much for me to even care about her whole hair situation. I just don't. I don't check in for Jada Pinkett Smith. So we have a situation where Will Smith, if you haven't, been privy to a lot of this information, he's been kind of, being picked on a little bit, right? Everybody's kind of teed off on him with this whole situation with his wife and their whole stuff. And, this August, I've seen a kid that, if you don't know, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going into, but basically, his wife was having an affair with this young boy that she was supposed to be mentoring. And it ended up being what she titled as an entanglement, which is, a ridiculous way of putting it. But hey, I'm not here to judge. So you have all this going on for the course of, a couple years now. You see the memes with Will Smith with a little crying face on. He's obviously looking hurt and everything. And I'm sure that it's bothered him. It has to. You've seen him. Come on now. He's not above, even at his celebrity status, he's not above human emotions, right? So he got Chris Rock, who is an excellent comedian. I'm talking about, he's got to be in the top 3 conversation, top 5 at worst, all time. When it comes to how he goes about his craft, he is absolutely amazing at what he does. And I watched it. I listened to what he said, and I'm sure it was a little sting, a little punch to the gut, just a slight one, okay? Especially if you're really dealing with a hair condition, I can see it. So Will Smith hears this joke, as everybody did, about G.I. Jane. If you haven't seen the movie, that's with Demi Moore. I saw it a long time ago. She had to cut her hair to get into the army or military, wherever it was. And that was a big deal back in the day with, you know, a woman, you know, cutting in the military and all the stuff that she had to endure, whatever. All right, so Chris Rock makes this, you know, off the cuff comment, and I think it caught Will Smith off guard because he's over there laughing, you know, like he's laughing about it, and 10 seconds later, apparently he's walking on stage. And he's walking on stage, and Chris Rock's like, oh my gosh, yeah, okay, Will, what's up? This dude coming at me, whatever. And he just hauls off and slaps the guy. I'm talking about hand, caught back, wacko. And I wish I would have saw it live. Oh my gosh. You know, I woke up, you know, I checked Twitter and I'm seeing all types of comments about it. I'm like, what in the world happened? You know, I'm seeing Stephen A. Smith. He's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. This is a disgrace. And I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, so I see it. I'm like, whoa, is this real? Like, I think that was a natural reaction that most people had. Was this really real? Did this really happen? Was it scripted? Are they just trying to be funny? But the Academy Awards, the Oscars, that's not like the MTV Awards or some of these other shows where skits like that is like a thing. You know, this is like the top of the top of the top of the top. You know, you got billionaires that are walking in these events. They don't have time for, you know, skits like that. It's like they present themselves as, you know, kind of the high and mighty and extremely elite. So something like that was definitely like, whoa, this definitely wouldn't be scripted by the Oscars. They're not going to sign off on anything like that. And then he goes back and sits down and he's hollering, don't, you know, keep my wife's name out your, you know, effing mouth and all that type of stuff. You know, so when I really sat back and unpacked this whole thing, I'm like, okay, I get you having a feeling of wanting to protect your wife and defend her. But where was all this protection when, you know, you was going through all the stuff you were going through? You know, where was this same energy for everybody else that has disrespected your whole family dynamic and situation? Would you have done this same thing if that was Jerry Seinfeld up there? Like, that was my first thing. Okay, cool. You want to be a stepper now? Okay, that's what you want to be now, Will Smith. Okay, would you have done that if that was Jerry Seinfeld up there? Think about that one for a second. I'm not even gonna go too deep into that, but you could probably see where I'm going with it. I'll take it another step further. Being that Chris Rock is, I've never stood next to him, but just looking at him, he might be 5'8", 5'9", you know, 145, 150, you know, I'm 170, and he's definitely not bigger than me. Would you have done that if that was Shaq? You know, Shaq is goofy. If he was presenting an award, we would have walked up on Shaq and smacked him, slapped him in his face. Would you have done that? I don't know. Why do you pick the comedian who this is what he does for a living? You know this. You do comedies. You know how comedians get down. You know how Chris Rock gets down. Now, if you was upset at what he said in 2016 about Jada, you know, and then it kind of dawned on you, then whatever. So that was my take on that. All of a sudden, now you want to be, you know, you want to poke your chest out and show everybody that you Mr. Big Tough Guy when you weren't keeping that same energy with the guy who was all up in your house. So what you gonna do? You gonna slap everybody that has something to say about Jada and you? Is that what you're gonna do? That's what we on now, Will Smith? That's my thoughts on that. I love to see it. And if he backs that up, if he's all of a sudden gonna be Hancock in real life now and just going around and just enforcing his will on people, no pun intended, I'm good with it. Go for it. Knock yourself out. Now, how does this have any relation to Nick Saban, Alabama football? Let me tell you, because I'm sure you're probably waiting. Now, while I don't necessarily agree with how Will Smith walked up and slapped Chris Rock unprovoked, because it was unprovoked. He wasn't in any immediate threat, and anybody who disagrees with that, slap your own self. But anyway, I digress. Nick Saban had to endure in Alabama 2021 season, had to endure a lot of criticism, as they always do, right? Brand new quarterback, Bryce Young, never started a game, hardly played in 2020 because Matt Jones just lit it up from start to finish. You go undefeated, you win a national championship. The expectations are always the same, even though you lost a good deal of people off that 2020 team. Who was it? 5 first rounders? Should have been 6 with Christian Barmore. I mean, that's not easily replaceable, right? The defense, still has some holes, even though, most Alabama fans felt that the defense should have been better. The offense was still a work in progress because you have an unproven quarterback who, by all intents and purposes, everybody believed was going to be special. And he obviously proved that with winning the Heisman, right? But you still have a lot of questions. You got new running backs, Brian Robinson, who I personally wasn't certain about based on his performance in 2020. I thought that he took a major step back. But, to his credit, he bounced back and became what he became. But you still had a Jason McClellan who, you still didn't really know a whole lot about. You saw the talent. Roydell Williams, you still didn't really see a whole lot of, right? And then Trey Sanders was coming off of a career-threatening injury. So a lot of question marks. You don't have Devontae Smith, the best wide receiver that Alabama has fielded in its entire history. Yes. Jalen Waddle. And you're unproven with the Jameson Williams, who, everybody saw the production that he was doing over the summer. He was hearing all these reports. And then fall camp, same thing. But you still didn't know. John Mechie, could he be a number 1 receiver? So you're still missing some stuff. You don't have some of the dynamic that you have from all over the place with the offensive line. It's some pieces are missing. You don't replace a Landon Dickerson with just anybody. It just doesn't happen. You don't place an Alex Leatherwood with just anybody. And just the whole glue in the dynamic, Deontay Cornbread Brown, you just can't replace everyone that simple. So a lot of different question marks. And enduring all that, the expectation was still for Alabama to possibly still win the national championship. With all of that said, you lose the game against Texas A&M that, probably shouldn't have happened. You win a game against Auburn that you probably should have lost. And then you shock the entire world and you curb stomp Georgia in the SEC championship game. Now everybody's like, oh my gosh, this Alabama team has found themselves. How do they lose? How does Georgia come back after it? Are they psychologically damaged? And then you go into the national championship, you're down now your best remaining wide receiver in Jameson Williams. Now you're down multiple running backs because you still don't have Jason McClellan and Roydell Williams, and you're left with Brian Robinson, Trey Sanders, and you got Christian Leary and Demoy Kennedy as emergency running backs. I mean, that's a tall order. And even still, you're one possession away from being a back-to-back champion. And you lose. So what have we seen with Nick Saban in the past when it comes to dealing with adversity, getting that close to your goals, and then having them fall? We've seen this before. We've seen this in 2008. What happened in 2009? They go undefeated, win the national championship. 2010, expectations high, they fall flat. Terrible. Just inexplicable crashes and burns in that 2010 season. You follow that back up, 2011, you win a national championship. You run it back the next year, win a national championship. And then 2013, I know Alabama fans don't want to hear this, but you got the kick six going on, and that just destroys your whole chances of the real dynasty moment with a three-peat. So 2014, that was supposed to be the rebuilding year. All right, so you exceed expectations. You come one game short of a national championship, but you run it back in 2015. 2016, you're supposed to win. You have all types of chaos. I don't have time to go into that whole situation. That should have been another three-peat situation, because you come back in 2017, you win the national championship. 2018, you wet the bed in the national championship. 2019, Tua gets hurt. But again, 2019, 2020, you win the national championship. So usually we've seen this with Nick Saban. You lose when you should win, or you expect to win. You come back with a vengeance. All right. 2019 was the last time we saw this happen. They come back in 2020 and just completely wipe the slate with everyone and just run through everybody. So what's my whole point? The whole slap was synonymous to me with what I expect and what I think you're going to see with Alabama in the 2022 season. That is exactly the energy that they should come with every opponent on their schedule, starting with Utah State to open the season. They need to walk up on that stage like Will Smith did when they see Utah State and just absolutely just slap them, disrespect them, and then poke their chest out. But they should have did it better than Will Smith. Will Smith should have turned around to everybody. Hey, anybody else got something to say about my wife? Come see me. That's what he really should have did. If he was really, about that life. I don't think he really about that life like that. But again, I digress. Okay. But that's what I think we'll see in 2022, or we should see. This 2022 defense should be absolutely ticked off. They should be ticked off. They should get to the point where they're tired of hearing about the 2016 defense, the 2011 defense, the 2009 defense. They should get sick of it. We've heard enough about it already. Yes, we can get back and play to that aggressive style to where people fear us, because Georgia has proven that you can do it in this type of offenses in this day and age. It can be done. We don't want to hear any more excuses about that. Nick Saban has tried to put the excuse out, but Kirby Smart just put it right in his face. Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, you can still be dominant. You can still be dominant and hold teams under 10 points a game. Oh yeah, you sure can, Nick Saban. So this 2022 defense should come with that same mentality. And then the offense, you have a Heisman Trophy returning. You have a bevy of receivers, a tight end that has shown himself that he can be productive, running backs, a full stable of running backs, an offensive line who is again, missing some key pieces, but you do have some key guys returning as well, and some very talented guys that are waiting for their shot also. So again, I don't know what the season how it's gonna play out, but the mentality, what we saw a couple nights ago, that's the mentality that fans should expect. And more importantly, that's the mentality that Nick Saban and all the members of this 2022 Alabama team should have, coaches included, and we shall see what happens. All right, well, again, if you like this video, please make sure that you hit that like button, number one. Number two, if you're not a subscriber, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Check out the rest of our content, touchdownalabama.com. Follow us on Twitter, TD Alabama Mag. Make sure you like our Facebook page. Go check that out, Touchdown Alabama. Instagram, TD Alabama Mag as well. This is COO Brandon, aka Fresh. I'm signing off once again. If you like what you've heard, please make sure you drop a comment down there. Let me know. And again, I might continue to do this on the regular. Take care.